One thing that we can maybe talk about is the influence of caffeine on your heart health.
Yes.
Because cyclists are addicted to exercise and caffeine, generally speaking.
Yes. So one of my children said of me, and they all think I'm quite a boring person, it all begins with C for you: cycling, coffee, chocolate, and the crossword, Dad. And they're right. And so I'm approaching this from a position of bias. Yeah. Let's just put this out there. When colleagues have looked, because it's a truism in medical practice that because caffeine is a psychoactive drug and because it's a stimulant and that's how it works as a performance enhancing thing, that it must be bad with heart rhythm abnormalities which are driven by adrenaline. And many, but not all, heart rhythm abnormalities are more likely to occur if we have a lot of circulating adrenaline. So it's the understandable sort of inference that if you take a lot of caffeine, you're going to aggravate abnormal heart rhythms. And if you go to see your GP and you say, I've had some palpitation, they'll say to you, please moderate your alcohol and stop drinking coffee. That's what they'll say. When people have looked at this in a more objective way and tried to look at the relationship between giving people caffeine and whether they get more heart rhythm abnormalities, it's been actually much harder to find a genuine link. And as I say, you're just going to have to sort of get a little bit of a health warning with this, that this is the bias of somebody who enjoys 3 espressos before he heads out on the bike in the morning. But the evidence is weak that caffeine causes or aggravates heart rhythm abnormalities. The evidence becomes very strong that if you take a drink, you will do so. So if you swapped Chianti for coffee, you'd probably do yourself a favour.
I said in the book that abstinence makes the heart grow stronger. And you know, if you're going to be an endurance athlete in your midlife, 50, 60, 45, you should be reducing your alcohol and probably cutting it out completely if you're building to a big event.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things I think that you have been proved right on, especially with respect to AF.
Spot on. It's so complicated because it's embedded in our emotional lives. It's embedded in what fun means. It's incredibly complex. But if you take all that out of it and just say, well, what does the epidemiology tell us? It tells us that even small doses of alcohol are toxic to heart and brain and probably every other bit of us as well. The dose response of that adverse effect goes down to very low levels of alcohol intake, perhaps 3 or 5 units a week. So if it's more important to you to really optimize your sporting performance and to optimize your health, then I suggest alcohol-free beer is the straightforward way to go. And stop indulging in all sorts of complicated special pleading and thinking about it. Just do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I totally agree. And in fact, you advised me, I had an arrhythmia in 2018, and you advised me, change your life, Phil, and stop drinking. And that was the last time I drank alcohol.
Yes, and there's one other thing that's worthwhile saying in this regard, and that's around hypertension.
You might explain what that is?
Excuse me. So hypertension is high pressure within our arteries. So there's a natural biological distribution of pressure within our arteries. If we measure it in millimeters of mercury in healthy population, it would vary between 100 and 140 at rest. Due in part to genetic variation, some people have a higher number, and it can be due to medical conditions, but can it just be due to genetic sort of variation between people? And that's no problem in terms of the way that you feel, but give it 20 years and it'll damage your blood vessels and increase your risk of stroke, heart failure and kidney failure. So it's a huge public health problem, and as the population ages, it's more substantial every year. And I worked for again, to sort of hat tip to another colleague for whom I have huge respect, a professor of clinical pharmacology, Maurice Brown in Cambridge University, whom I used to work for. Maurice said to me, when somebody comes with hypertension, ask them how much they drink. And it's powerfully true. A lot of people with mild hypertension can escape medication by stopping drinking. Alcohol raises your blood pressure.
Yeah, and a very good friend of ours and colleague of ours, Dr. David Hulse, who contributes to the Midlife Cyclist, he describes it, alcohol as an obligate toxin. The body's obliged to deal with it first.
Yes.
It's a red flag to the body, and whether or not we're enjoying ourselves, the body isn't enjoying itself.
That's right. And one thing we might talk about, but even if not, about the value or otherwise of wearables.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have a wearable, particularly if it gives you a number relating to heart rate variability, and we can talk a little bit more about that, but basically the higher the heart rate variability at rest, the longer you live, all other things being equal. People who drink alcohol get a very powerful signal by measuring their heart rate variability that tells them you're poisoning yourself, because it tanks. 2 or 3 glasses of wine with your dinner, it's much reduced that following morning, and I think that's telling you that your physiology is stressed.